Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my new video where we are going to go over 5 tips that I think every single Caitlyn player needs to know. Now, if you're new to my channel, my name is LowFit. I do educational content, I do tips videos and guide videos, and I really just center my whole channel around trying to help people climb and get better at League. So if that is something that interests you at all, please remember to hit that subscribe button, and let's get into the video. A couple things first, actually. If you have your own tips, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below, and I'm also open to any kind of critique or feedback that you guys have for me. I'd love to hear your thoughts and how I could improve my videos. And if you're curious about my experience, I peaked in Diamond 2 promos, so I'm not the best player, not the most micro crazy player, but I feel like I've been able to climb just due to experience and decision making, and that is why I do guide videos. So with that out of the way, let's get into tip number 1. Alright, and getting into tip number 1, I want to talk a little bit about what separates Caitlyn from the other ADCs and what you need to do to take advantage of her laning phase, and that is her zone of control. As you can see, with her auto attack range without the rapid fire cannon is extremely large, only beaten out by a few different things. So how you want to look to take advantage of this is by doing you want to be going into your max range and poking people off with autos and Qs while staying out of their auto attack range. While something like a Cait or a Vayne, you would have to probably be around this close or maybe that close. This is why Caitlyn is considered a lane bully and usually is able to accrue a lot of CS. So if you're someone that really excels in getting a lot of CS and really is good at that, Caitlyn can be a great pick for you because it just kind of snowballs, and she is a great pick currently, just due to a bunch of different reasons. But one thing I also wanted to talk about is your auto attack range is basically the exact same range as your E. If you did not know, as you can see right here where my cursor is, this is the edge of my auto attack range, and then if I switch it over to an E, it is in pretty much the exact same spot, maybe giving you about a half or 2 units more on your E. So having that understanding is going to be really crucial because if you didn't know, it procs a headshot on you. So the optimal way to play lanes is going to be staying at your max range, looking to poke them out, and staying in the bushes to get the extra headshots, which is just going to come in a huge advantage, particularly in the early game. With that, just getting those early crits can really push people away from a lot of their farm, and is just a great bully against a lot of the scaling ADCs you see right now in Cait and Xayah. So if you have any questions at all, I'd love to help you out about the laning phase. You can hit me up in the comments down below, and that will wrap up tip number 1. Alright, and getting into tip number 2, I want to talk about defensive play. Because Caitlyn is very long range, she is going to be quite squishy, but what you have at your disposal are the 90 caliber net and the Yordle snap trap. So how you want to look to play this out is you do not want to use your E nilly-willy in lane, maybe just to get a little bit more poke if you're under high threat. If there's something like a Leona that can just dash in on you, and if she sees you use her E, she is just going to be charging straight at you, looking to punish this cooldown, because it is a rather long cooldown when it is a level 1 without any cooldown reduction. It's just a little low right now because I have a little bit of cooldown reduction there. So how you want to look to play it out is use the 90 caliber net as a little bit of a counter, unless you're flashing in to get like something like that as a kind of a finisher off. You want to be looking to use your 90 caliber net if the enemy has a lot of threat on you as a defensive tool. The second defensive tool at your disposal is the Yordle snap trap. How you want to look to play these out is obviously by putting them in certain choke points. The more of the choke point, the less you have to place down to really deny them access. So you can do something like that if you're scared about getting ganked right there, or you can put traps right here, or maybe you can put a trap in the bush so you know that they're coming. You want to kind of put it in a centered position so you will get vision on them, and they're going to be rooted for a little bit, and they're going to struggle to gank you. However, if you do not have any traps set up and they are looking to gank you, how you want to look to place your traps when escaping is generally you want to put them between you and your enemy, because that is going to be the quickest path to you. You want to deny them that path. You want to make them you want to make them do a have to turn and adjust their course, and this is really going to zone them out and not let them get a really good angle on you. So always say an enemy Kha'Zix is coming right down this way, you want to look to put it in your way and have a movement command input while you're doing your traps, and you will just continue moving. See how I stopped there? Just make sure you have a movement command going in, and you're just going to be auto moving right after each one of your traps are placed and denying them good angles on you. So that'll wrap up kind of my spiel on defensive play. If you have any questions, again, you can hit me up in the comments down below. And that'll wrap up tip number 2. Alright, and for tip number 3, I want to talk a little bit about itemization. My 3 core, pretty much when I am playing Caitlyn, are the rapid fire cannon to increase my poke range and be able to get some really strong auto attacks off and guarantee my ability to get headshots off pre-fight, and then an Infinity Edge that obviously scales extremely well with Caitlyn because of her crits and her headshots. Increasing that damage is going to be extremely strong. And then I do like going Essence Reaver as a item in my 3 item core due to your extremely strong AD ratios through your Q, through your R. As you can see, they're more than 100% AD ratios, which are very rare. And then also your headshot scale with your AD ratios. So it's going to be really important to have a decent amount of AD when you are playing Caitlyn. You're probably not going to be able to get to your headshots as quickly as you would kind of only going these 3 and only having 1 attack speed item outside of your boots. It is a really strong core though, in my opinion, and it allows you to keep up a lot of your poke, and that cooldown reduction is going to be rather important because you are a semi-ability based champion. You are really strong with your auto attacks, but I do like the early Q damage can be very strong. Next up, a item that I think you should always be buying when you are playing Caitlyn, and it is just extremely important to utilize due to the fact of your ultimate. It has a very long range, and sometimes people are ducking out of range. Maybe you are fighting someone in lane, they are extremely low health, and they pop over this wall, and getting a Farsight totem is going to allow you to get your ultimate off. So you might get a little bit of flack by not having yellow wards or not running a sleeper, but I think the absolute best right now is the Farsight alteration when you are playing Caitlyn, because it just enables your ultimate to be able to be shot from a longer distance away. So that's kind of my spiel on the items. If you're curious about the runes, I like the Fleet Footwork because it's offensive and defensive, giving you that increased attack speed to either run away or to chase people down, and then it denies a little bit of poke that you're going to start seeing a little bit more as when you're playing in solo queue. There's a lot of carry mage supports. Next up, I like Triumph. You can run overheal as well, especially if you're going Fleet Footwork. Bloodline is just really important if you're getting poked out and you like the health. You can go Cut Down or Coup de Grace, and then I think the Magical Footwear and Biscuit Delivery can really be good for you in the early game. So those are kind of my runes. I think I was watching a couple different pros and what they were doing, and I think this is very similar to what Def was running. I was like, wow, that is a really good setup. I should check. And then obviously attack speed, AD, and armor are the runes I run in lane, unless I'm running into a double mage lane. And that will wrap up this tip. Alright, and for tip number 4, I want to talk about a rather strong combo that you can look to utilize when you are playing Caitlyn, particularly if you're against a team comp that has a pretty good amount of counter engage. Maybe if you look up to poke and they're just jumping in on you with like a Blitzcrank and a Draven, what you can look to do is something like this. You maybe are in your auto attack range here. You probably want to be at your maximum range. You want to auto E Q, and you want to do it a little bit quicker than I did, because the great thing about your E is you're actually able to start the cast time of your Peacemaker mid-E. So if you watch really carefully, if you see the bar there, it is able to be shot out right as you are flying back, and that is just going to take a lot of it's going to do 2 different things. It's going to take advantage of the slow that it has on your net, so it's going to be easier for you to hit your big Q damage that is really strong in the early game. And the second one is it is using the it is just getting the skill shot off as quickly as possible, giving them as minimal amount of time to react. And whenever you look to auto attack an enemy ADC in general, in the laning phase, they're going to look to return auto attacks on you. So if you are doing this auto EQ, they're generally going to be running straight at you. So this is just going to be a really strong, quick trade that you can look to utilize when you are playing Caitlyn. If you have any questions about that, you can hit me up in the comments down below, and that will wrap up tip number 4. Alright, and for the 5th and final tip, I'm going to jam pack a couple really quick and small tips into one, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of help in a couple different areas. So if you are kind of newer to Caitlyn, you probably won't understand it, but it's going to be extremely easier to land traps when they are under the tower right here. As you can see, it's extremely hard for the enemy to see, and they probably will forget about it, and they will step over it, and they are not going to know the general hitbox. So hiding your traps behind a tower is going to be a rather good way to look to harass people under tower and get some of those kind of cheap and free headshots. Next up, what I want to talk about is with your traps, obviously you're going to do extremely well with supports that can set up free traps. Things like Leona, things like Blitzcrank, things like Thresh, things like Veigar are all going to be able to set up extremely easy Yordle snap traps and give you a little bit of extra damage. So if there's ever a support that is like asking you what kind of support do you want, you just want something with a lot of CC to protect yourself. Next up, I want to talk about kind of just a general idea you should look to have when you are team fighting, particularly in the late game. How you want to look to play out these team fights is obviously you want to start out the team fights when you are in a front to back position. You are not a diver, you are a strong backline, consistent damage ADC. So you do not want to be in the front, and you want to be at generally your max range in the auto attacks and how it's going. You want to watch key cooldowns, and these key cooldowns are key cooldowns that have particular threat on you. These kind of champions are things like a Fizz with his EN and his R and Q, things like Leona with her solar the big R that she shoots down. I forgot the name. I can't believe. All right. And then just things that can dash and input threat on you. But the last thing you want to do is have a front to back team fight going on, but you are not taking full advantage of the enemy's team inability to just kind of engage you at the range that you are engaging them. So you want to be looking to push forward if the tide of the battle is going your way, so you have a better chance to chase people down. You do not always want to be staying at max range. There are particular times when you're, for example, where you're chasing the enemy down after you've won a small skirmish, where you want to look to be maybe kind of just behind your tank so they can block some single target skill shots that might be coming your way. So always watch kind of the edge or the ebb and flow of the team fight, and look for main cooldown usages that have a large threat on you, and take advantage of the windows of power that are developed for you and your team when the enemy uses large cooldowns. Because of your long range, you have a very particular skill set that is really enables you to punish people when their cooldowns are down. So always look for that. That's going to wrap up my final tip. Guys, I really appreciate you coming to watch my video. If you have any tips of your own, again, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And as always, guys, take it easy.